Picture this. The year is 1983. A young woman walks into a dimly lit studio in Los Angeles, thinking she's auditioning for just another music video. She doesn't know she's about to meet the king of pop himself, and she definitely doesn't know that what happens in the next 5 minutes will change music history forever. Michael Jackson sits in the corner, not watching her feet, not counting her steps, but staring directly into her soul. Because what he's looking for isn't perfect technique. It's something far more terrifying and beautiful. Today, I'm revealing the shocking truth about how Michael Jackson cast dancers for his legendary Thriller video. And trust me, this story will completely change how you think about talent, artistry, and what it really means to tell a story without saying a single word. Michael Jackson didn't just want to make a music video. He wanted to create a cinematic masterpiece that would haunt people's dreams and redefine what popular music could be. When he walked into those casting sessions for Thriller, he carried with him a vision so revolutionary that even his own team thought he might be losing his mind. This wasn't going to be another typical 1980s music video with dancers doing synchronized moves in shiny outfits. No, Michael had something far more ambitious in mind. The music industry in 1983 was a completely different beast than what we know today. MTV was still this new, experimental thing, and most music videos were basically just bands playing their songs in front of cameras. But Michael Jackson, he saw the future. He understood that music videos could be short films, complete with narratives, character development, and emotional depth that could rival anything Hollywood was producing. When he sat down with director John Landis, fresh off his success with An American Werewolf in London, Michael made one thing crystal clear. He wanted dancers who could act, not just move. This decision would prove to be absolutely genius, but at the time it was considered completely insane. Dance casting directors were used to looking for technical perfection, perfect lines, flawless execution, years of classical training. They would measure dancers by their ability to hit every mark, maintain perfect posture, and execute complex choreography without missing a beat. But Michael Jackson threw all of that conventional wisdom out the window. He understood something that the industry was too blind to see. Emotion trumps perfection every single time. During the initial meetings with his creative team, Michael would pace around the room, gesturing wildly as he described his vision. He wanted dancers who could transform from normal teenagers into creatures of the night. He wanted performers who could convey terror, excitement, supernatural power, and raw sexuality, all within the span of a single song. This wasn't about finding the best dancers in Los Angeles. This was about finding actors who happened to move beautifully. The casting call that went out was unlike anything the dance community had ever seen. Instead of requesting headshots and resumes filled with dance credits, Michael's team asked for something unprecedented. They wanted to know about acting experience. They wanted to see personality. They wanted performers who could embody characters, not just execute choreography. This sent shockwaves through the professional dance community, with many established dancers feeling completely unprepared for what was being asked of them. What made this approach even more revolutionary was Michael's understanding of his audience. He knew that Thriller would be watched by millions of people who weren't dance experts, who couldn't tell a perfect pirouette from a sloppy one. These viewers would connect with emotion, with storytelling, with performances that made them feel something deep in their gut. Michael was betting everything on the power of authentic human expression over technical prowess. The preparation for these casting sessions involved Michael spending hours studying horror films, analyzing how the greatest actors conveyed fear, transformation, and supernatural possession. He watched Lon Chaney Jr. in The Wolfman, studying how the actor's eyes changed as his character transformed. He analyzed the work of Vincent Price, understanding how subtle facial expressions could be more terrifying than any special effect. Michael was building a masterclass in performance, and he was about to teach it to a room full of dancers who had no idea what they were walking into. His team initially resisted this approach, arguing that they needed technically proficient dancers to execute the complex choreography Michael had in mind. But Michael stood his ground, insisting that he could teach someone to dance if they had natural rhythm and dedication, but he couldn't teach someone to connect emotionally with an audience if that spark wasn't already there. This philosophy would become the foundation of everything that made Thriller the cultural phenomenon it became. When word spread through the dance community about Michael's unconventional casting approach, reactions were mixed. Established dancers felt threatened, unsure how to audition for something they'd never encountered before. Meanwhile, aspiring performers with acting backgrounds suddenly saw an opportunity they never thought possible. The traditional hierarchy of the dance world was about to be completely upended. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Michael was investing his own money into this project, betting his career on a 14-minute music video that cost more than most feature films. He needed performers who could justify that investment, who could help him create something that would be talked about for decades. As the casting dates approached, Michael knew he was about to discover whether his revolutionary vision was pure genius or complete madness. The casting studio buzzed with nervous energy as hundreds of dancers lined up outside, each clutching their headshots and hoping for their shot at music video immortality. But nothing could have prepared them for what waited inside. Michael Jackson sat in a simple folding chair, dressed casually, his legendary sequined glove nowhere to be seen. Next to him sat John Landis, the director, and a small team of choreographers. But the most shocking thing wasn't who was there. It was what they were asking the dancers to do. Instead of starting with traditional dance combinations or technical demonstrations, Michael began each audition with something completely unexpected: acting exercises. He would have dancers improvise emotional states, asking them to show fear without using their bodies, to convey seduction using only their eyes, to demonstrate rage while remaining perfectly still. Dancers who had trained their entire lives to express themselves through movement suddenly found themselves frozen in place, being judged solely on their facial expressions and emotional authenticity. The first major shock came when Michael asked each auditioner to tell him a story using only their eyes. No words, no dramatic gestures, no choreographed movements, just pure emotional communication through their gaze. Many classically trained dancers, used to expressing themselves through their entire body, found this exercise nearly impossible. They would start strong, their eyes intense and focused, but within seconds, their training would take over, and their bodies would begin to move. Their hands would start gesturing, their posture would shift into familiar dance positions. But every so often, someone would walk in who understood exactly what Michael was looking for. These were often performers with theater backgrounds, actors who happened to dance, or street performers who had learned to captivate audiences through pure charisma rather than technical perfection. When these rare individuals sat across from Michael and began to weave emotional narratives through their expressions alone, you could feel the energy in the room completely shift. Michael's selection process revealed his genius understanding of what made performance truly powerful. He would ask dancers to imagine specific scenarios. You're walking home alone at night, and you hear footsteps behind you. Show me that fear. You've just discovered you have supernatural powers. Show me that realization. You're trying to seduce someone, but you're also terrified of them. Show me both emotions at once. These exercises weren't just about acting ability. They were specifically designed to identify performers who could handle the complex emotional journey that Thriller would demand. The technical dance portion of the audition, when it finally came, was almost anticlimactic. Michael would teach simple movements, nothing too complex, focusing instead on how each dancer interpreted the choreography emotionally. He wasn't looking for perfect execution. He was looking for dancers who could make every movement tell part of the story. A simple arm gesture needed to suggest supernatural transformation. A head turn needed to convey predatory hunger. Every step needed to serve the narrative. What truly shocked industry veterans was Michael's willingness to choose complete unknowns over established professionals. Professional dancers with decades of experience and impressive resumes found themselves passed over for performers who had never been in a major music video but possessed that indefinable quality Michael was seeking. This wasn't just unconventional, it was revolutionary, challenging every assumption about how talent should be identified and valued. The psychological aspect of the auditions was equally intense. Michael would create an atmosphere of controlled tension, dimming the lights, playing the Thriller track at different volumes, sometimes having dancers perform in complete silence. He wanted to see how each performer handled pressure, how they adapted to changing circumstances, how they maintained their emotional authenticity under stress. Many dancers later described the experience as unlike anything they had ever encountered, more like an intense acting workshop than a traditional dance audition. Perhaps the most revealing moment came when Michael would ask dancers to perform the same simple sequence multiple times, each with a different emotional context. Now do it as if you're hunting prey, now as if you're being hunted, now as if you're transforming against your will. The dancers who impressed him weren't necessarily those who changed their technique dramatically between versions, but those who could shift their entire presence, their energy, their emotional reality, while maintaining the same basic movements. The selection process continued for weeks, with Michael personally reviewing every single audition. He would spend hours discussing individual performers with his team, not debating their technical abilities, but analyzing their potential for emotional storytelling. This level of attention to character development was unprecedented in music video production and demonstrated Michael's commitment to creating something that transcended traditional entertainment categories. The dancers Michael ultimately chose for Thriller became legends in their own right, but not because of their perfect technique or flawless execution. They became legends because they could make viewers believe in the impossible, feel genuine terror and excitement, and become completely absorbed in a story that lasted just over 13 minutes. When Thriller premiered on December 2nd, 1983, it didn't just change music videos. It changed how the entire entertainment industry understood the power of authentic emotional performance. The impact was immediate and undeniable. Viewers weren't just watching a music video, they were experiencing a short horror film that happened to feature music. The dancers Michael had chosen brought characters to life that felt real, threatening, and somehow sympathetic all at once. Their performances were so convincing that many viewers genuinely felt scared watching the video, not because of special effects or makeup, but because of the pure emotional intensity radiating from every performer on screen. What made Michael's casting choices truly genius became clear in the years that followed. Thriller didn't just become the best-selling album of all time. It became a cultural touchstone that continues to influence entertainment decades later. The music video spawned countless imitations, but none could recapture the magic of the original because no one understood Michael's revolutionary approach to casting. They focused on finding great dancers, while Michael had focused on finding great storytellers who happened to move beautifully. The dancers from Thriller found their careers completely transformed, but not in the way traditional dance training might predict. Rather than being valued primarily for their technical skills, they became sought after for their ability to bring characters to life, to convey complex emotions through movement, to connect with audiences on a visceral level. Many went on to successful careers in theatre, film and television, proving that Michael's instincts about the power of emotional authenticity were absolutely correct. The influence of Michael's casting philosophy extended far beyond music videos. Theatre directors began incorporating his techniques into their audition processes. Film choreographers started prioritizing emotional connection over technical perfection. Dance schools began teaching character development alongside traditional technique. Michael hadn't just created a great music video, he had sparked a fundamental shift in how the entertainment industry understood the relationship between technical skill and artistic impact. Perhaps most importantly, Thriller proved that audiences were hungry for authentic emotional experiences, even in the context of popular entertainment. The video's success demonstrated that people would respond powerfully to performances that made them feel something real, something deep, something that stayed with them long after the music ended. Michael had tapped into a fundamental human need for genuine connection, and his casting choices were the key that unlocked that connection. The legacy of Michael's approach continues to influence casting decisions today. When directors are looking for performers who can truly connect with audiences, they often reference the Thriller standard, the idea that technical perfection means nothing without emotional authenticity. This philosophy has become so embedded in entertainment culture that many people don't even realize it originated with Michael Jackson's revolutionary casting decisions for a single music video. The dancers who were rejected during those shocking auditions often later came to understand the wisdom of Michael's approach. Many reported that the experience changed how they thought about performance, pushing them to develop their emotional range alongside their physical abilities. Even those who didn't make it into the final video benefited from exposure to Michael's philosophy, carrying those lessons into other projects throughout their careers. Today, when we watch Thriller, we're not just seeing great dancing, we're witnessing the result of one of the most innovative casting processes in entertainment history. Every movement, every expression, every moment of connection between performer and audience exists because Michael Jackson had the vision to prioritize storytelling over technique, emotion over perfection, and authentic human connection over impressive physical ability. The shocking truth about Michael Jackson's casting process for Thriller reveals something profound about artistry, talent, and what it really means to move an audience. He understood that the most powerful performances come not from flawless execution, but from genuine emotional truth. And that understanding, applied through his revolutionary casting choices, created a piece of entertainment that continues to captivate and influence audiences more than 40 years later.